All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are going to talk about Browns wide receiver Amari Cooper and his desire for a new contract. So, this is what he had to say. Um, some recent comments. And he said, at least in the article that I have here, I'd pull a hammy or something trying to race you. He was talking to some individual. I'm trying to get paid. Oh, I'm trying to get paid this year. Oh, because I guess someone wanted to race him, and he said, he's trying to get paid, so he's not trying to risk, getting hurt. As my dog is barking like crazy here. He also said, oh well, this is some comments made by Andrew Berry, because Amari Cooper was absent for a little bit, and he said there's no guarantee that they'll complete a deal anytime soon, but you know, there's no animosity between the two sides. So, so I guess that was the only quote that Amari had, and that's he's just trying to get paid. But yeah, so he was absent from minicamp, and part of that is he wants a new contract, and he's coming off of a year where he had 72 receptions, 1,250 receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns. Now, that's a pretty good year. But you also have to look at that, he still was producing despite the Browns' injuries at quarterback. 5 different starting quarterbacks last year. Now, I don't think he played in the regular season finale against the Bengals, but still, he was playing with Deshaun Watson and PJ Walker and DTR and Flacco. Played really well with Flacco. And yeah, now he's looking for that new deal. He is on the final year of his contract that he signed with the Cowboys before he was traded. So, yeah, final year of a 5-year contract, and it's a $100 million contract. So, he's looking for that new deal, and he's 30 years old. Now, Amari Cooper's dealt with injuries, and I think it depends on what that kind of deal he's looking for. Is he... I don't think he's trying to get, Justin Jefferson money. I don't think he's. Maybe he is. If the Browns somehow gave him that, he's not going to turn that down. But that's not realistic. I think it depends on what the contract is. If the Browns do agree to it, and if they can come to an agreement, both sides are able to, find a way. But yeah, the Browns. It's interesting because they did go and trade for Jerry Jeudy, and they gave him an extension right away without him even, playing it down yet for the Browns. You got Elijah Moore there. You got David Njoku. You got some other young receivers. I think Tillman that they drafted last year. So they have other wide receivers that maybe, this could be it for Amari Cooper with the Browns. I think Amari Cooper is still a productive receiver. I don't think he's, I think he's still got a couple of good years left. But, now that, you're in your 30s, that's, we see some other receivers in their 30s. Devontae Adams, he's still, playing at a high level. And I think Amari Cooper could still have some good years as well. But I don't put, Amari Cooper in the same class as Devontae Adams. But, yeah, the age is a factor here. And I think it really all depends on, what he's asking for. And if the Browns, aren't willing to meet that price, then maybe he goes elsewhere. We could see that. I could definitely see that. Because, like I said, they gave Jerry Jeudy a bunch of money, and he didn't even play a snap yet. So maybe they look to Jeudy after, this year and say, you're the number one guy now, and they let Amari Cooper go, and they go and they add a receiver through the draft. I could see that happening. But only time will tell. And I think you also got to factor in that despite all the injuries at quarterback, he still finished with over 1,000 yards. Because we've seen when quarterbacks go down, some receivers, they're not able to, produce with the backup quarterback. But Amari Cooper was able to do that And there was plenty of changes. There was, like, again, 5 different starting quarterbacks last year, but he played with 4 of them. So, yeah, I mean, you know, I think Amari Cooper, he's still the number 1 weapon, the pass catcher on this team, I think. I mean, maybe you can make the argument that David Njoku is. I mean, I would still look at him as the number 1 wide receiver on the team, but yeah, I mean, Njoku, look at the year that he had last year. He was still producing, even with the injuries at quarterback. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see how it all unfolds, but yeah, I think he deserves a new deal. I just don't think it's a deal that you're gonna get that's like Justin Jefferson money. I mean, I don't know what kind of deal he's looking for, but if that's the deal he's looking for, then you're not getting that. So, and if he's not able to, kind of figure it out with the Browns, I think the Browns are okay with letting him go. And he might have to find a deal elsewhere. And teams are always looking for wide receivers, so I think he'd have no problem finding a new home. But he's, like I said, he's dealt with injuries. He does not want to get hurt this year. He wants to, go out there, have a good year, and then get a big contract, whether it's with the Browns or it's with somebody else. And I think if he plays out the final year of his contract with the Browns this year, I think he might be going elsewhere. That's my first instinct. I think maybe he goes elsewhere. But that's just me saying that. Take that with a grain of salt. So, yeah, I mean, and for the Browns, I think they're going to be a good team. And he's going to be a big part of that. And I think also, having Njoku beside him, and, we'll see if, how Jerry Jeudy is, kind of being that number 2 guy now. Which, I mean, I guess he was still the number 2 in Denver. But, Jerry Jeudy's kind of been a disappointment. And maybe a change of scenery, he does well. That'll help out Amari Cooper. And you got Elijah Moore there as well, who they got from the Jets last year. So, the Browns got weapons. And, Deshaun Watson, we'll see if he's able to bounce back from the injury. And they seem to be very encouraged with his rehab. But, if he ends up not playing well or gets hurt again, you got Jameis Winston there. And you also got Tyler Huntley as well. So, Tyler Huntley was a Pro Bowl quarterback. You have to remember that. He was a Pro Bowl quarterback, and he did start in a playoff game for the Ravens. So, those are the Browns' backup options. So, I mean, if Jameis has to come in, he could throw the football around. So, Amari Cooper could definitely put up big numbers with Jameis. So, I mean, but for the Browns, they're hoping that Jameis comes in, when the Browns are, winning against a team by 30 points. They don't want to see Jameis that much. Or the final game of the regular season. They do not want to see Jameis at all, because that means Deshaun Watson got hurt again. The Browns do not want to see Deshaun Watson get hurt. Because, already that deal is not looking good. The trade, because they gave up a lot to get him, they're hoping that he could be the Deshaun Watson that we saw in Houston. So, we shall see. But, yeah, where I'm at with the Amari Cooper stuff, I think, yeah, I mean, he's going to get a new deal. I just don't know if it's going to be with the Browns. Unless they find a way and they're able to, come to an agreement. I think it's probably he plays out the final year, and he probably goes elsewhere and gets paid elsewhere. And if he has a good year, I mean, I think either way, another team's going to pick him up, because I still think he has some good years left. But yeah, this is just another receiver looking to get paid. I mean, we've seen a bunch of quarterbacks get paid this offseason. We've seen wide receivers get paid. We've seen running backs. There's some guys that are like, hey, we want our new deals as well. So, and Amari Cooper is one of those players. So, I think he's been, consistent. He was kind of frustrating with the Raiders, but the Cowboys, he played really well there, and with the Browns, he's been solid. So, we'll see what he gets when the time comes. And right now, he's looking for it. So we'll see how that all plays out. So we are going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, we will discuss the Cardinals. I know we talked about them earlier this week. We talked about the Cardinals, just some things on Kyler Murray, talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. But now we're going to talk about, when we come back, Trey McBride, the tight end for the Cardinals, talking about Kyler Murray, saying how this could be, the year that he possibly wins MVP. He has a potential to win the MVP. So I wanted to get into that, give you my thoughts on it. But, as I say, let me know what you guys think about the Amari Cooper stuff. Do you think that he gets a new deal with the Browns, or do you think that he's going to play it out and maybe go elsewhere? Because like I said, there's always going to be a team that needs wide receivers. And, I think he could go to another team and be productive. I mean, that could definitely happen. It's still, I still think it was odd that, they traded for Jerry Jeudy and they, traded him right away. But we will see what happens. So, like I said, we'll talk about Trey McBride, talking about Kyler Murray when we come back from our final break. So, for one final time today, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.